Books. Hi, it's Sandy, and today we're back in the office, and it's kind of late outside. And today is the day after I finished watching the Gilmore Girls revival with my friend Kendra. She is kind of the reason I started watching Gilmore Girls, because she loved it so much and I wanted to watch it for the revival, because I didn't watch it when it was first on TV. I am doing the Gilmore Girls tag, where what you do is you match a book with the characters of the Gilmore Girls, or just Gilmore Girls. Lorelai, a character with a witty or sarcastic sense of humor. For that, I'm going with Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, particularly Baz. He is extremely witty and great, and I love him. And the whole book is hysterical, but also super moving and traumatic, and I wish everyone would read it because it's wonderful. Second, Rory Gilmore, a favorite classical book. This should be no surprise to anyone. My favorite classical book, I kind of cheat always. My two favorites are Frankenstein, the 1818 edition by Mary Shelley, and Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I love them both for different reasons. If I had to pick one, if I had to choose one that I could only read forever, I would probably actually go with Frankenstein, because I really love the beginning of Wuthering Heights, but I don't really care about the second half. Or at least I didn't the last time I read it, so I guess Frankenstein is my ultimate favorite classical book. That's weird. Next character, Luke. Will share a book that you're secretly in love with and you're a little afraid to tell people about. The book that I choose for this is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. It's a classic book. It's a much loved book. It's one of my favorite movies, but there's so much with it that is not great. Like, I am definitely here for the love stories, but I don't ever, I don't like to be like, I super love this book and everything about it, because there's a lot about it that's really not great. Or I wrote a paper all about the critical history, meaning the literary critical history of this book, and that really opened my eyes to a lot of the problems with it, most particularly the depictions of African Americans and how not great that is, and how this book creates a picturesque, it tries to paint the Civil War South or the pre-Civil War South as like an ideal society, and it's not. Or it wasn't. I haven't read this in a very long time, but I've watched the movie kind of frequently. Gone with the Wind is a story that I love, but only parts of it. Like, I want people to know that if people know that I love this book, I want them to know that I am also very aware of what's wrong with it, because I've spent a lot of time researching it. And mostly I just love the character of Scarlet and Red. Lane, a musical character. For this one, it took me a while to come up with an answer. I'm going with This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab. The book has a lot of musical hints, like they're called verses rather than books, and one of the characters, August, plays a violin in moments of stress and other times. I really enjoyed this book. I read it very quickly, and I am a huge fan of Victoria Schwab, if you didn't know, and I love this book so much that I bought both versions. This is the UK edition, and I wanted it in paperback, and it came out a month earlier, so I bought it. And then this is the American edition, which is hardcover. Next item. Dean, your first favorite book. A first love. My first book love, I'm gonna go with Emily of New Moon by L.M. Montgomery. I do love the Anne of Green Gables series as well, but Emily of New Moon is a book that I can return to at any time and just get lost in. I really, really, really love these books, and I want to reread them. There are 3 of them, but I only have this one, so I need to track down the other 2. Emily of New Moon is a story of loss and getting through that loss and finding just beauty in nature, and it's about writing, and it's great. Sookie, a book I devoured. For this, I am going with Saga, the deluxe edition of book 1. So this is books 1 through 3. I read this, I think, in one sitting. It was the first book I read this year. It's fantastic. I have been keeping up with the series. I love it a million times. Read it. If you don't know, Saga is an alien comic book series. It's kind of mature, though. It's very mature. So go in prepared. Jess, a book you love who gets hate. Okay, I am not really a fan of Jess, except in the revival and like later episodes of the original series. Like season 2 and 3 Jess, boo. Hate me all you want. A book I love that gets hate. Dun, 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 dun. Twilight. Miss Patty, a book that was ruined by the hype. I love Miss Patty. For me, a book that was ruined by the hype is J.K. Rowling's The Casual Vacancy. When I heard J.K. Rowling was writing a new book, I got super excited, you know, right before it was released, and I asked my grandma for it for Christmas, and I heard, sadly, that it was not anything like Harry Potter, and it was about a lot of drugs and, like, war and things, and I still have the book, but I've never opened it. I think if I read it at the time, it would have been very strange for me to do so. I don't think it would have been good for me to read it. Maybe I will someday. I mean, I'm planning to. I haven't given it away, but I just got ruined by the hype for me. Emily Gilmore, an expensive book. I don't know how much this cost, but one of my dear friends bought this book for me for Christmas, I think last year. It is Jonathan Safran Foer's Tree of Codes. This book is very precious. It is really cool. Can you see what's happening there? Yeah, I haven't read it yet because I don't really know how to read it, but it is expensive, it is delicate, it is very precious, and I treat it with utmost respect. Paris Gilmore, an uptight character. It was interesting. It was kind of weird to think about a book answer for this. I think for the uptight character, I'm going to go with Eats, Shoots, and Leaves by Lynn Truss. This book is great. It was a gift to me from my dad in 2004. This is a book all about being a grammar stickler, which I am because my dad raised me to be that way. And it's a book that I devoured this book too. I read it like in an afternoon. It's really funny. It's about British punctuation laws, so if you don't know American punctuation laws yet, don't read this if you're an American, because then you'll get confused, or you'll end up just writing with British punctuation, which is wrong, and you'll get essays marked up. So it's not, like, it's my uptightness. It is a book all about adhering to punctuation rules because they matter, damn it. They do. And the last question, well, Paris is the question that usually ends this quiz, but however, I love Kirk as a character. He is so crazy, and he just never stops being Kirk. So I wanted to add Kirk, an unexplicable love, and because I love him for a reason that I can't really understand. And I'm going to go with the Raven cycle for that. This is The Dream Thieves, the one I like the best. I wanted to make a video about the whole book series before The Raven King came out, which I still haven't finished yet. But there's so much going on in these books, and yet it feels like nothing is going on. There's lots of passages. The writing is absolutely beautiful. Her descriptions are gorgeous. There's so much action and yet so much inaction happening at the same time. It's a very paradoxical series. I really love it, but I can't quite figure out why. It's such a weird rush and halting of energy that's in these books, and so I can't really explain why I love these books, but I do. So those for Kirk. So that is the tag. Thank you very much for watching. I'd love to see what you thought of the revival down below, or, you know, Twitter at me at Aegis1837. I only have, I think, 11 more days of work, maybe 12. It's, well, under 2 weeks of work left. So after that, I'm going to be unemployed, but working more on this channel. I have lots of plans. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back on Wednesday with another video. Books Duda!